Hey guys, welcome back to TTMR, and today we're back with me and Sean, and we will be reviewing the second episode of Moonknight, titled Summon the Suit.
This episode starts with Stephen Grant using the phone and key that he found in the previous episode to first track down a storage locker that he apparently owned. Upon reaching the building that houses this locker, he meets the person working there, who lets him in after telling Stephen that he never forgets a familiar face. Stephen explores this locker and finds not only the scarab from the last episode, but other weapons and items belonging to Mark Spector. Speaking of Mark, in the comics, Mark is the main alter of three. Mark has DID, Dissociative Identity Disorder. Stephen Grant and Jake Lockley are his other alters. This is why we see Stephen fade to black and then reawake just moments later. It was Mark. Back to the main topic, Mark confronts Stephen and tells him to give over the body, which he refuses to do after seeing the weapons and illegal things, swearing he will report this to the police. When going back home with the bag containing the stuff, he encounters a character, Layla, who he recalls having a phone conversation with in the previous episode, and he directs her to his home. While here, Mark keeps warning Stephen about Layla and the scarab not to tell her anything about it, and what has happened, which he fails to do, and Layla gets angry at Stephen, thinking that he is Mark. To make matters worse, police bang on Stephen's door, seeing the bag and telling him that he has to come with them. Layla cleverly hides out of sight on the roof beside the window and is barely missed, with Stephen being smart enough not to mention her presence to the police.
These police bring him to a base that belongs to none other than Arthur Harrow, who tries convincing Stephen to give him the scarab while Arthur's followers group around Stephen. Layla arrives just as tensions begin to rise, announcing she has the scarab, and her and Stephen make a tight escape. Once concealed, an invisible monster only Stephen can see starts pounding on the door. Layla tells Stephen to summon the suit, as does Khonshu. When Stephen finally suits up as a classy version of normal Moonknight, dubbed Mr. Knight. Stephen, as Mr. Knight, fails to kill this beast, letting Mark take control of his body as Moonknight defeats the beast. At the conclusion of this episode, Mark stresses and screams as he realizes the worst has come. He doesn't have the scarab. Why is this so important, you may ask? This scarab is the only way to find the tomb of the ancient god Amit, the god of judgment. Harrow's main goal is to open the tomb and control the power, making him an immense threat.
To be honest, I loved this episode, and it was mostly because of the fact that we got to see the conflict between Mark and Stephen, which plays with the flow of the episode. It is also extremely fun to not only see Moonknight himself, but also Mr. Knight, who looks incredibly awesome. Having the cliffhanger of Arthur finding the scarab when Mark loses it is a great ending that does a great job of getting the watcher excited for the next episode. Comparing this to the previous episode, I think that it's very nice how the pacing changed from a more slow-moving storyline like the first episode to the action-packed story of the second. It is really nice how these two episodes work with each other and reference one another to further progress the story, which encourages the viewer to look at those little details and tension left in these episodes.
Just like in the first episode, there's literally nothing bad with this one. However, there is an overwhelming amount of good stuff to talk about in this episode, so we'll cut it short. Holy, Stephen Grant may be one of my favorite fictional characters of all time. He's so innocent it hurts. And that scene where he turns into Mr. Knight went crazy too. I definitely didn't expect Stephen to turn into him. And oh my god, he's gotta be one of my favorite superheroes. Like, look.
What? I did it! You got planted!
I mean, dude, come on, look at this! How do you not find this funny? The action was stellar in this episode, the story was rich, and we got a lot of new information on the backstory of Moonknight and his relationship with Khonshu.
I rated this episode with a 10 out of 10, and Max also rated this episode with a 10 out of 10. Combining these scores together, we of course get a 10 out of 10 or 100%, which, partnered with the score from the first episode of Moonknight that we have already reviewed on our channel, shows simply how amazing this show is.
To wrap everything up here, this episode far exceeds that of the first. The story is incredible as we see more of Stephen trying to grasp his situation, and the watcher learns much more about why Mark is so persistent on taking control and not having Stephen interfere. This episode ends on one of the most thrilling cliffhangers I've ever seen. Obviously, Mark loses the scarab. Arthur finds it, And then we have a great scene between Mark and Khonshu. In this scene, Khonshu is telling Mark he failed and how that Khonshu owns his body, reminding Mark that he is nothing without him. Then we see Mark and Khonshu come to an agreement on that they have to find Amit's tomb another way, where we then cut to Mark drowning in his sorrows until he rises and we see this amazing shot of Egypt at the episode's end.
Anyways, that has been our review of the second episode of Moonknight. And remember that this is just our opinion, so you don't necessarily have to believe everything that is said here.
We hope you all have an amazing rest of your day, and if you enjoyed, you could like or subscribe to help us out. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great day.